Is the RBA about to crash the cash rate target? Let's have a look. Good evening, everyone. Florian here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your hashtag not sponsored cheap coffee, and let's have a look at this article written by Stephen Kakoulis about the RBA. Apparently they're going to be eating humble pie and cutting the cash rate. Now, let me ask those of you viewing, what do you think? Let us know in the comments. Do you think the RBA will crash the cash rate? Let's have a look at the ASX RBA Rate Tracker. Here we go. We've got. Let me just drag that up here. Here it is. So we are on the 19th of September, which is a couple of days ago because it's the weekend. 90% no change, a 10% decrease to 4.1%. And if we have a look, we'll go to Trading Economics, guys, which is, if you're not familiar with this website, I'm sure all the regular viewers of the channel would be, but it's a good one, a good site for any economic information you would want. Let's have a look here at the US, because they're the big boys, and they've made a slight change to their cash rate. Where is it here? Chart of accounts, GDP, unemployment rate. What's that sitting? 4.2%. Not too bad. Non-farm payrolls. Where can I find it? Come on. Federal Reserve. I want the interest rate. Is it under housing? Wow, look at this. Look at how much they have here. Well, no, we'll go to US. We'll go to countries. United States. Inflation rate. Right there, interest rate, right in front of me. So you can see they've dropped the target rate from 5.5%. Wow, 50 basis point cut. That's a decent move. Let's go out to 5 years, 10 years. We'll go to max. We can see here. So there you go. It's back in the 90s, it was hovering around this. And then look how long it's just since the GFC. It's just been at the bottom. Money's been so cheap. I bet you that explains all the rise of the bullshit jobs, particularly in the tech sector. How much money could you get for nothing and just throw people at it? So let's jump and have a look at this article to see what Kakoulis says. Because the RBA, they're not, well, the RBA, let's bring up the cash rate here. We can see, it's lifted up. I haven't updated this in a while, it hasn't moved. The RBA is not planning to reduce the cash rate. But let's see what Kakoulis' take on this is. So only a few months ago, there were a gaggle of economists forecasting a horrifying series of interest rate hikes by the end of 2024. Really, I thought they were predicting rates would actually drop. Remember, the banks were predicting we'd see a cut at the end of this year? I mean, economics it's not really a science, is it? It's kind of a half science. They pretend they're a hard science. I remember studying economics at university. These were some of the first subjects I studied. And it really felt like they were really trying hard to pretend that they were a hard science compared to physics or chemistry or even biology. As they lick their embarrassing wounds and engage in a bit of self-reflection of why they were so horribly wrong, investors are preparing for a series of interest rate cuts in Australia. We can see some of the banks here in Australia are already starting to cut rates. So there you go. But if you're desperately holding on and expecting a big cut here, it's not going to be huge, guys. It won't, it's not going down to 0.1%. You know that. Well, I would be shocked if we see 0.1% in our lifetime. I would be really shocked. This is going to be the millennials version of the boomers and talking about 18% interest rates. When the first rate cut in this cycle, while the first rate cut in this cycle is unlikely at the RBA meeting next week, the weakness domestically in the global economy and the certainty that inflation is under control means that the oppressive interest rates will soon be reversed. I mean, we're not that high. Okay, this is the thing. This is the issue here. Let's bring up the RBA website, guys. You've got it here. We're at 4.35%. Okay, now this feels high because we're anchored at this. We're anchored at 0.1. So there are going to be people that only know this in their business life. But remember all of this back here? I guess that's that's last century. Pretty much last century when you're hovering around 4-5%, maybe up a bit high. In the GFC, that's when it just went down. So we're just at the bottom of this range. This normal area here. But okay. Maybe we'll hit down to 3.5%. That's what he's talking about. News in the last 24 hours shows why the RBA too is about to swallow some humble pie and move to reduce rates. The Australian labour force data for August confirmed a moderate picture for jobs in Australia. The unemployment rate held at 4.2%, the same as the US. Ours edged up. Employment growth was moderate and underemployment rose. The worry is that there are no signs that the unemployment rate will remain in the low 4% range or region. It has increased from a low of 3.5% during 2023 and remains vulnerable to a rise as the economy remains weak. Let's have a bit of a chat about that one. Now, it depends on what sector you're in. I'd argue we've got a two-speed economy. I'm working on education projects at the moment. Everyone I'm talking to is insanely busy. And, well, a lot of that's to do with the population growth we've seen here in southeast Queensland. And frankly, a lot of us here in Queensland can thank good old Dan Andrews for that. So there you go. It depends on who you talk to. You kind of have to try and make yourself recession-proof. That's the real challenge, isn't it? I mean, we were lucky that some of the first work we ever got was mining sector work when we first started our practice. And this is the boring stuff that no one wanted. But we were flat out. I remember talking to the rep for the local Autodesk reseller, and we were one of the few firms that was actually buying licenses back then because other firms were like firing 50, 60 people. It was nuts. That's the challenge in the architecture sector. You want to get a diverse range of clients. The labour market data dovetail with the news that the overall pace of economic growth in Australia is wickedly weak, just 1% in the year to the June quarter. This rate of growth is always associated with deteriorating labour market conditions, and in 2024, the rules of economics remain firmly in place. The other huge news was the interest rate cuts from the US Federal Reserve. It delivered its first rate reduction on this cycle, a cut of 50 basis points with the promise of many more cuts to come. So what you'll see is you'll get, if Trump makes it to the polls, you'll get him in, then you have the Reserve Bank cutting rates, and then he'll just get lucky again, won't he? The economy will go in overdrive. Such is the worry of the US Central Bank about the growth performance of the United States, the outlook for unemployment, and its confidence that inflation will gravitate to its target rate, that another 200 basis points or so of rate cuts are priced in over the next 18 months. Wow. That's a big cut. While Australia never has and never will move interest rates in lockstep with the US, the broad trends up and down in interest rates are well established. And it is noteworthy that the likes of Canada, the UK, the Eurozone, New Zealand, China, Sweden, and Switzerland, to name a few, have already started their rate-cutting cycle. Australia will join this club. He's right. We may be a bit delayed, though. Making the interest rate cut case in Australia all but signed and sealed. Next week sees the release of the August Consumer Price Index. Unemployment holds at 4.2. Underemployment up to 6.5. Hours work are so 1.7%. The change in Australia's unemployment rate is the same as the US. Yep. It is said to confirm that inflation will fall to be within the 2 to 3% target range, a feat unsurprising given the extreme restrictiveness of the interest rates set by the RBA. The fabulous economics team at Westpac and the Commonwealth Bank are forecasting annual inflation to fall to 2.7%. Antipodean Macro is going one better and expecting an inflation rate of 2.6%. Unless there is a huge miss to the higher side, it is safe to say that inflation will be back on track as of next week. While this inflation result will owe something to the negative impact on prices of a range of government policy changes, notably the federal government's electricity subsidy, which is scheduled to end on the 30th of June 2025, other price pressures are also set to ease further. I mean, how is this legitimate? You've got a government that's in debt. So they're giving us money to ease inflation, and then we'll just have to pay back more later in the future. Isn't it awesome? Did any of you get that $1,000 on your power bill? When will the RBA cut rates, and how low will they go? These events have seen investors pricing in a 25 basis point cut by the end of 2024 and a further 100 basis point cuts into 2025. This will take the official cash rate down to around 3% from the current 4.35%. Okay. In the fullness of time, this will deliver a decent stimulus to the economy and cap the expected rise in unemployment. The RBA must react to the fresh news and cut interest rates, and perhaps soon. So there we go, everyone. Let's have a bit of a chat about this one. So what do you think? Do you think the RBA will cut rates? In a year's time, we could be sitting at 3%. Now, this isn't the 0.1% that we've seen before. 3%, I think, is quite a reasonable interest rate, cash rate target to have. It will be in line with historical precedents, and the economy will be chugging along quite nicely if that occurs. This isn't going to be the catastrophic. If rates cap out at this 4.35%, the target, what's happened to the property market? It hasn't crashed. We haven't had seen a flood of forced sales on the market. It's barely been a dent. In Brisbane, it's just kept going up. It's getting stupid. So, for those of you waiting for a huge correction, you may have to wait a bit longer. But how long can you wait until the opportunity cost overcomes any benefit? Anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts and opinions on this one. Do you think we'll see a rate cut? Do you think we'll see 3%? And what are your plans if you're coming off a fixed mortgage? I'm about to, November. So I've got a plan. Do I want to fix again? Potentially be stuck at a higher rate if rates are trending down? Or go variable? They're the things to consider. Or, half or whatever, what deal you can get with a broker, that type of thing. Anyway, guys, take care. Have a great night. And I'll see you next time. Bye for now.